When we first meet our heroine, Mok Sel-hee, she's in the early days of her career as the liar hunter, a human lie detector for hire. As such, she sniffs out the traitor among a gang boss's henchmen, and it's not one of the guys he's got dangling over the side of an abandoned building. He convinces the boss to at least spare the traitor's life. So naturally said traitor comes after her for revenge. He flees and hops on the next bus to Seoul, which is inconveniently delayed by a disruption involving another passenger who's accused of cheating on his ex-girlfriend who has gone missing. He insists he didn't, and Seo-hee stands up for him. She knows he's telling the truth, and anyway, she needs the bus to move now so she can escape. Then we jump ahead 5 years to the present day. Seo-hee has expanded her practice and her wealth. She now runs a tarot cafe with a couple of employees. It's the same kind of lie hunting work, but involves an even bigger paycheck and often a bit of acting, like posing as a wealthy woman's cousin to ascertain whether her young lover is honest or a gold digger. He's cheating with the maid, and it's a fabulously entertaining cameo by Kim Sun-young and Lee Tae-sun that also demonstrates how people can confuse Seo-hee's powers by lying through a mission. Officially, Seo-hee claims she got her powers via shamanistic ritual. In actuality, her mother prayed to every deity she could think of while pregnant, and presumably at least one of them answered. But whatever the source, hearing someone lie sets off literal alarm bells in Seo-hee's eardrums. Small wonder she avoids having much of a social life. As for the guy from the bus, he's now known as award-winning composer Kim Do, but his name and music are pretty much all people know about him. He never leaves the house without a mask, never makes public appearances, and only communicates with a select few individuals. As a result, there are wild speculations about a double life. And now I'm going to need a show with Min Hyun as an actual secret agent. Do only friends or singer Sean, who'd like to be much more than friends, and Jo Duk-chan, CEO of the entertainment company Sean is signed to. Troubles arise for the trio when Sean is photographed outside Do apartment complex. She was there to drop off his Best Composer trophy, but it's instantly spun into a dating scandal. Duk-chan provides Do with an out-of-the-way vacation home to crash in for a while, not so secretly hoping the fresh air and privacy will coax Do-s out of his shell. The thing is, Do has good reason for his reclusive habits. The ex-girlfriend who disappeared has never been found, and Do was arrested on murder charges, which ultimately fell through for lack of evidence. But not before Do was thoroughly traumatized by the experience and stabbed in the back by the missing girl's brother. We don't know exactly what happened that fateful day on the beach, but Do still suffers blood-soaked nightmares about it, and even his mother seems to harbor doubts about his innocence. The missing girl's brother, on the other hand, has zero doubts. He spent the past 5 years impersonating police officers to get his hands on the case files, determined to hunt Do down. His arrest finally gives us one tiny glimpse of Seo Ji-hoon as police officer Lee Kong-min, who's sympathetic toward the brother's grief, but firm about the limits of the law. Do-s new neighborhood comes with pros and cons. On the first night, Do-s mistaken for a local rapist because of his all-black outfit and late-night walks. Fortunately for him, though, this is Seo-hee's neighborhood, and she quickly identifies the actual offender. Recognizing her catchphrase, "If I say it so, it is." Do realizes she's the same girl who defended him on the bus. Even better, it turns out they're next-door neighbors here. They also happen to be super fans of rival soccer teams, leading to an adorable sequence where they're both up at 3 a.m. alternating cheering and groaning on opposite sides of the wall, occasionally directing their voices at each other rather than their respective screens. Not long after Do-ha moves, another composer uses Sean's scandal to blackmail Duk-chan into arranging a meeting between him and Do. He's convinced Do plagiarized his song, so he hires Seo-hee to hide in an adjoining room and signal whether Do tells the truth. To his fury, Do doesn't lie even once and hasn't even heard the song in question. Seo-hee's disgust with the composer skyrockets as he pressures Do into drinking, and it becomes clear that he's the actual plagiarizer. The final straw is when he sprays Do with soda as an excuse to sneak a photo of Do's face. Seo-hee quickly snaps a photo excuse to sneak a photo of Do's face. Seo-hee quickly snaps a photo with her own phone so the sound will warn Do of the composer's true intentions. Since she's only ever seen him masked and casually dressed, he doesn't realize who Do is until she comes home to find him drunk out of his wits outside their apartment building. Even though she's just angrily watched someone else repeatedly violate Do boundaries, not to mention kicked her own bodyguard out of the car for trying to follow Do and lying about it. She can't resist unmasking him, and he wakes up just as she does. I can't say I wasn't disappointed with He for removing Do mask without his consent. All he can muster is a small bow and a quiet hello. He takes off to spend the night in a hotel, and she searches him up online, cringing over assumptions she's made about him. Do's hotel stay comes to a swift end the next day when he's caught in a crowd of reporters. They're here for a different celebrity, but the camera flashes and Jocelyn send him into a flashback-induced panic attack. So back to his temporary home, he goes, and Suhaili just happens to exit the building right when he arrives. After he fails to hide behind the taxi, Suhaili apologizes for the unmasking. He's kept her literally at arm's length throughout the conversation, but steps protectively in front of her when a desperate-looking man runs up begging to borrow a phone. Do gawks as he readily offers the guy hers, along with cash from Doha's wallet, for a taxi. She, of course, can tell this isn't a scam, but Doha just shakes his head at how naively trusting she appears to be. From there, little chance encounters continue to nudge them closer together. Like when He's mom drops by asking for money, but mistakenly knocks on Doha's door instead. He overhears her mom accusing her of ruining their family. 9-year-old he had innocently offered to help a victim of her mother's real estate scam, only for the woman to run off with all of their money instead of just the amount she'd lost. And having a mother who's afraid of you is something Doha is all too familiar with. When he and Sulhi end up on their respective balconies that night, he commiserates with her about messy families. On another night, Sulhi finds herself at the jazz bar where Do plays piano. While she immerses herself in the music, the gold-digging cheater from last week approaches and gets increasingly threatening. Do again steps in front of her, and since she's almost a drunk to function, he drives her home, not realizing until she points it out that he's forgotten his mask. On the way back, she insists on stopping for hangover soup, sweetly seating him with his back to the room so he'll feel comfortable enough to eat. But trouble is waiting at their apartment building in the form of 2 reporters. Now it's He's turn to protect Do, which he does by bunny hopping in front of him to hide his face and dragging him into her apartment to hide as the reporters camp out in the hallway. Awkward cuteness ensues. Do finally learns Sulhi's name, and since he doesn't know, she knows he's Kim Do. He gives her his real name, Kim Sumyo. He was prepared to accept a fake name, so it takes her a second to register that her lie alert didn't go off. That combined with Master's son on the TV, in which the hero's touch neutralizes the heroine's ghost-seeing abilities, piques her curiosity. Does he never lie? He says everyone lies, or can she not detect his lies specifically? Over the next several days, she tries everything she can think of to coax a lie out of him. From prying into his career, Duke Chan answers for him to asking outright for him to lie that she's pretty. Doha says you kind of are, though. They won't admit it yet, but these two are quickly developing an adorable fondness for each other. Except things get complicated for Sulhi because an old flame reappears. Hyung Bin, the police officer we saw last time, he and Sulhi were briefly engaged before something happened, and he started lying to her. The first time they meet, it is by coincidence as he's called to deal with the reporters who cornered Do in Sulhi's apartment. But then, Kong Min seeks her out at the Taro Cafe at closing, and much as I want to like him, he seems genuine. There's something slightly unsettling about it all. And yet again, Do is there to step between them. Sulhi lies that he's her boyfriend, and he plays along, walking her home hand in hand just to be safe. Meanwhile, Do is dealing with a complicated relationship of his own, or rather the relationship Sean wants to have with him. He's been in her corner since before her debut, and now she's desperate for his attention. When she exaggerates a dance injury to gain sympathy points, Do realizes things have gone too far and talks to Duke Chan about no longer writing exclusively for her. Sean takes the news hard. She calls Do to say goodbye, and it's so similar to what happened with his ex-girlfriend, who threatened and perhaps succeeded to kill herself when he broke up with her. That Do panics. So he drives him to the beach where Sean is wading into the waves, and Do wordlessly drags Sean out of the water and carries her to the car. Sean pouts when she sees Solhee, who chooses not to say anything when Sean's pointed "I wanted to die" pings as falsehood. After handing Sean off to her manager, Do falls asleep, dreaming about his past interrogation when the officer screamed at him to confess. As Solhee tries to wake him up, he murmurs, "I didn't kill her." And there it is, the lie Solhee has been waiting for. If there's one thing this time hammered home, it's that Solhee's lie detection itself can be misleading. Her client's boyfriend was lying about being busy with work and KG about marriage because he was planning a surprise proposal. Do dodges risky questions by giving technically true but vague answers. Nonverbal cues don't have any effect on her at all. So I imagine Doha's lie is more a case of him believing he's responsible for the girl's death and not what it sounds like to Solhee. He considers it a lie. The words ping is false, but the truth may be a lot more complicated. So the story is not over yet. Here ends part 1 of the drama. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and check out our other selection of recaps.